this is certainly a mini crisis because of the way that they're playing.
I think it is crisis time for Liverpool.
To see the champions lose 4 games in a row in the Premier League with the expenditure.
There's a single sentence buried in an Arsene Wenger interview from earlier this year that explains almost everything that went wrong with Florian Wirtz's first season at Liverpool, and almost nobody talked about it properly at the time. Wenger revealed that when Wirtz was choosing between Bayern Munich and Liverpool, he told Liverpool directly that he would only sign if he played as the number 10, not on the left, not as a rotational wide option, centrally in the exact free role he'd operated in during his best years at Bayer Leverkusen. Liverpool agreed to that condition to get the deal done, and in doing so, they broke apart the exact midfield structure that had just won them the Premier League title. That single decision explains almost the entire disaster that followed, and it's also exactly why Andoni Iraola's arrival might completely rewrite the story of Florian Wirtz at Liverpool, for reasons that have nothing to do with sentiment and everything to do with system design. Let's start with how bad things actually got, because the scale of the collapse last season is genuinely worth revisiting properly. Liverpool spent close to £450 million across that summer, with Wirtz as the headline arrival at a reported £116 million. 7 matches into the season, he had 0 goals and 0 assists. Liverpool themselves were sitting 8th in the table, 9 points off Arsenal at the top, and had just been humiliated 4-1 by PSV Eindhoven in the Champions League, a result fans openly called one of the worst European nights the club had endured in years. 6 defeats in 7 matches at one stage. Arne Slot, the manager who had delivered a title in his first season, was suddenly facing genuine scrutiny over his job. And at the centre of almost every conversation about why it had gone wrong sat one name. Here's the part that actually matters tactically, because this wasn't simply a case of a gifted player needing time to adapt to a new league. Slot's title-winning midfield the season before had been built around a specific trio: Ryan Gravenberch anchoring things defensively, Alexis McAllister providing composure and progression, and Dominic Szoboszlai supplying relentless box-to-box running and goal threat. That trio had just won the league together. To accommodate Wirtz centrally, Slot had to break it up, and as Wenger put it bluntly on beIN Sports, Liverpool effectively destroyed their own title-winning midfield to fit one player into the exact role he demanded as a condition of signing. The data backs up just how disruptive this actually was for Wirtz personally, not just for the team around him. Compared to his final season at Leverkusen, his touches in the final third and inside the penalty area dropped by a staggering 34%. His successful dribbles collapsed too. At Leverkusen, he'd completed almost 4 times as many as the next best player in his own team. At Liverpool, he fell to 4th on his own team behind Ekitike, Gakpo and Gravenberch. His expected assists per 90 minutes more than halved, dropping from 0.36 to 0.17. Every single metric that made him one of the most exciting attacking talents in Europe simply evaporated inside Slot's structure. Steve Nicol, working as a pundit at the time, suggested publicly that Slot needed to move his £100 million signing out to the left wing entirely and restore the old midfield 3, because in his words, the back 4 simply couldn't defend as a unit with the balance disrupted the way it was. Eventually, that's exactly what happened. Slot reverted to Gravenberch, McAllister and Szoboszlai as his trio, pushed Wirtz wider, and the turnaround was immediate. Gravenberch scored in a win over Aston Villa. McAllister scored the winner against Real Madrid in the Champions League days later. The team functioned again the moment Wirtz stopped occupying the exact zone he'd insisted on playing in. Now, before this turns into a pile-on of a genuinely brilliant young footballer, it's worth being completely fair to him here. None of what went wrong was really about a lack of talent. It was a structural mismatch, and it's worth understanding exactly why that mismatch existed, because it's the key to understanding why Iraola's appointment changes the entire equation. At Leverkusen, under Xabi Alonso, Wirtz operated inside a system built around quick vertical combinations, players rotating fluidly through central zones, and a genuine license to drift and receive the ball wherever space appeared, rather than being tied to a rigid positional box. That system thrived on transition speed and technical combination play in tight central areas, with Wirtz as the free, roaming creative outlet stitching it all together. It's an intricate, fluid structure, but critically, it's still built around quick vertical progression rather than slow, patient rebuilding. Slot's Liverpool, by contrast, is a system built around disciplined positional occupation. Players are expected to hold specific zones during build-up, creating a structured platform for patient rotation through midfield before working the ball into advanced areas. It's a genuinely effective system. It won the league the year before Wirtz arrived, but it depends on players occupying defined spaces at defined times, rather than the free-roaming license Wirtz was promised and given. Wedging a free-roaming number 10 into a system built around zonal discipline was always going to create exactly the kind of imbalance that showed up in the data and, more visibly, in the results. This is where Iraola's arrival becomes genuinely fascinating, because his football, built over 3 seasons at Bournemouth, solves this exact structural conflict almost by accident. Iraola's system isn't built around patient positional rotation the way Slot's is. It's built around a hybrid press, compact and zonal until the ball gets trapped wide, then it flips into aggressive man-marking pressure, followed by fast vertical transitions the instant possession is regained. Analysts have measured Bournemouth under Iraola among the fastest teams in the league for progressing the ball once they've won it back, and among the lowest for passes completed per possession. The instruction is simple: win it and go forward immediately rather than resetting through a slow, structured build-up. Think about what that actually means for a player like Wirtz specifically. Iraola's system doesn't need him nailed to a rigid central zone the way Slot's did. What it needs the instant the ball is recovered is a player who can receive it in transition and immediately thread a pass or drive at a defense that hasn't reorganized yet. That's not a new skill Wirtz needs to learn. That's precisely what made him so devastating at Leverkusen in the first place. Quick combination play, forward-thinking passes the moment space opens, and the technical composure to do it at speed rather than needing time to set up. The genius of this fit is that it doesn't actually require Slot's original compromise at all. Iraola doesn't need to break up a title-winning midfield trio to accommodate Wirtz in a fixed number 10 role, because his system isn't built around fixed positional zones in the same way. Gravenberch, McAllister and Szoboszlai can all still occupy their pressing and ball-carrying responsibilities, while Wirtz operates as the free attacking outlet, in transition moments specifically, popping up between the lines the instant possession flips rather than camping there for the full 90 minutes, regardless of phase of play. It's the same profile of player deployed inside a structure that's actually designed to create the exact moments his game depends on, rather than one built around the opposite footballing philosophy. There's a broader historical pattern at Liverpool that supports this kind of reasoning too, and it's worth remembering it here specifically. Mohamed Salah struggled at Chelsea inside a system that didn't prioritise the wide-running, in-behind movement that became his signature, then transformed instantly once he arrived inside a Liverpool structure built around exactly that movement. Wirtz's situation is a version of the same story, a genuinely elite talent whose output is unusually dependent on the structure around him creating the right conditions rather than a fixed reflection of his underlying ability. It's also worth pointing out just how unusual Wenger's specific criticism was, because it wasn't framed as "Wirtz isn't good enough." It was framed entirely around system design, Liverpool restructuring their entire midfield balance around one individual's positional preference. That's a very different failure mode to a player simply lacking the technical or physical tools for the Premier League. A structural mismatch is fixable by changing the structure. A talent deficiency isn't. Everything in Wirtz's underlying data, the vision, the passing range, the composure in tight spaces, remained present throughout his difficult start. What disappeared was simply the platform to use it. Let's talk about what the numbers eventually looked like once Wirtz settled, because it's worth being fair about his overall campaign rather than just the disastrous opening months. He finished the season with 7 goals and 10 assists in all competitions, numbers that, while respectable, still felt disappointing set against a £116 million price tag and the reputation he arrived with. It took him 14 matches to register his first goal contribution at all. That's the profile of a hugely talented player who never actually got placed inside a system built to let his specific skill set flourish consistently, rather than in isolated bursts once the structure around him was temporarily patched up. There's also a subtler tactical point worth making about how Iraola actually uses his most creative players within transition moments specifically, because it isn't just about giving Wirtz freedom, it's about when that freedom actually gets used. At Bournemouth, players occupying advanced creative roles weren't asked to constantly drop deep and combine patiently the way Slot's system demanded. Instead, the creative responsibility activated specifically in the 2 or 3 seconds immediately after a turnover. Exactly the moments where Wirtz's first touch composure and instant decision-making have always been elite. Outside of those transition windows, the defensive and pressing structure takes over, meaning Wirtz wouldn't need to be the base of every single attacking sequence the way Slot's rigid number 10 role demanded of him. That's a genuinely different cognitive and physical load across 90 minutes, shorter, sharper bursts of decisive creative responsibility rather than constant, grinding central occupation. Now let's steelman the other side of this properly, because it would be dishonest to pretend this transition guarantees anything. Iraola's system asks an enormous amount defensively from every single outfield player, triggering the press constantly, covering ground box to box, closing distance instantly the moment possession is lost. Wirtz's defensive work rate has never been the standout part of his game, and there's a genuine question of whether a player whose entire footballing identity has been built around technical creativity can adapt to the relentless physical demands Iraola's pressing structure requires from wide and central attackers alike. There's also simply the matter of settling into a second consecutive new system in as many years, which is a lot to ask of any player regardless of talent level. And adaptation periods don't always resolve themselves cleanly just because the tactical logic lines up on paper. Those are legitimate concerns, and Wirtz's fitness and adaptability over a full season will be the actual test of whether this theoretical fit becomes a genuine one. Theory and application remain two different things. But strip away those question marks for a moment and focus purely on the football logic, because that's where this actually lands. Florian Wirtz was never miscast as a footballer. He was miscast inside a specific positional structure that demanded he occupy a fixed central zone within a system built around patient, disciplined rotation, a request that forced Liverpool to dismantle their own title-winning midfield just to accommodate him. Iraola's entire tactical framework, built on vertical transitions and freedom in broken play moments rather than rigid zonal occupation, doesn't require that same compromise. It hands Wirtz almost exactly the conditions that made him one of the best attacking talents in Europe at Leverkusen, without forcing Liverpool to break anything else to get there. Whether that actually translates into the numbers Liverpool paid for remains genuinely unresolved. But the tactical argument itself isn't close. Wirtz fits the shape of Iraola's Liverpool in a way he never quite fit inside Slot's. And this time, nobody has to sacrifice a title-winning midfield to make it work.